Donald Trump is currently melting down over Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show, despite the rest of the country enjoying it like normal human beings, which tells us a few things. First of all, why was he watching the Bad Bunny show when he had the Kid Rock show at his disposal? Even Donald Trump wasn't watching Kid Rock's trashy halftime show, which we'll talk about in just one second. But number two, he was so scared of getting booed at the Super Bowl that he decided to stay back in DC, sit there and seethe in his own anger and just get angry at everybody else. And then rather than actually helping the American people in any substantive way, he spends his night writing a long, deranged post about Bad Bunny. But there is some good news. There is some really hilarious news because right before the Super Bowl halftime show was set to start, Turning Point USA gave us an update about their competing halftime show with like Kid Rock and a bunch of other B or C list artists that no one even cares about. Dude, the normal halftime show had about every single A-lister you could ask for, just on your screen right there. Imagine how much of a psycho you'd have to be to flip the channel and watch Kid Rock instead. But Turning Point USA posted, update. Due to licensing restrictions, we are unable to stream the All-American halftime show on X. Head over to our YouTube channel tonight around 8 p.m. to watch the full show. Now, of course, it's already over, but just with that one mistake, they cut their viewership in half, as you can imagine. One of the largest platforms they were going to stream to said you cannot stream on our platform, which cuts their viewership in half. Of course, I responded, you just created 1 million Kid Rocks. You just created 1 billion Kid Rocks. And then I posted, Kid Rock didn't die for this bullshit. Now, of course, Kid Rock's still alive. I just thought it would be a funny thing to post in the moment. But to continue, the Kid Rock halftime show is one of the saddest things I've ever seen. For some legit political analysis, it is a huge loss of cultural relevance for the Republican Party over the course of 1 year. Now, if you guys remember about a year ago, in February of 2025, it felt like after Trump's win, there was sort of a cultural shift where people were more open to conservatism. People were watching more Charlie Kirk or etc. But it didn't last long. We are 1 year into the Trump term, and not only has that cultural shift, or whatever you want to call it, died out, but the pendulum has already swung back the other way. I mean, dude, the halftime show was so sweet and heartfelt that the sign in the background said, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. And as Jordan on Twitter points out, MAGA wanted you to boycott this. They said this was fundamentally anti-American, even though Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico, let me remind you. It says, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. Well, guess what? MAGA decided to take this message and be as hateful as possible. Laura Loomer, Donald Trump's close friend, posted, what the hell is this illegal alien farm worker non-English shit on my TV? Someone call ICE. So I responded, she's watching the Melania movie, by the way. Like, babe, that's Melania you're talking about there. Nobody on this screen fits the description that you just described. She's just racist. She is just straight up racist. You know which one really pissed me off? Was Jake Paul, who must have taken one too many punches to the head. He said, purposefully turning off the halftime show. Let's rally together and show big corporations they can't just do whatever they want without consequences. Do whatever they want? You mean have the most popular artist ever or in recent history perform? He says, you are their benefit. Turn off this halftime. A fake American citizen performing who publicly hates America. I can't support that. So I pointed out on Twitter, you own a house in Puerto Rico and you fly the flag of Puerto Rico when it's convenient. Rather than calling Bad Bunny a fake American, I don't even know what that means, just say what you really mean. It seems like Jake Paul was like 1 inch away from saying some sort of slur. I mean, he might as well have at this point, but instead he calls him a fake American. What does that even mean? Puerto Rico is a part of America. This is just hatred. This is just them being hateful. And hey, maybe they could have used some Bad Bunny halftime show, which literally said, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. This brings us on to the President of the United States, who is a beacon of hatred, who is always guiding the country, not with a steady hand, not guiding the country towards a better, more unified reality, but guiding the country towards more hatred. By the way, if you appreciate these videos, if you appreciate my clapbacks on social media throughout the Super Bowl, you know, I was traveling to New York, which I just landed to. I was watching the Super Bowl and the ads and the halftime show, and I was tweeting relentlessly to make sure that conservatives weren't out there just controlling the narrative. So make sure you subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed below, subscribe to us on Facebook, and let's return back to Donald Trump, who is a beacon of hatred for the United States, is constantly going to new lows. Earlier today, he was attacking an Olympic athlete because this Olympic athlete simply said, hey, I don't always agree with the United States. That's literally all they said. So Trump decides to post in an infantile, tantrum-esque way, quote, "The Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever." Oh, maybe he was watching the Kid Rock one, because that sounds pretty accurate when referring to the Kid Rock show. But in all seriousness, he's trying to talk about the Bad Bunny halftime show as if we all didn't see it ourselves. Even my grandpa texted me. He's like, I honestly didn't understand a word of that, but that was awesome. My grandpa's usually the one that's like grumpy about new era music, as is natural, and he thought that the Bad Bunny performance was sick. Okay, so back to Trump. He said, "The Super Bowl halftime show is terrible, one of the worst ever. It makes no sense. It is an affront to the greatness of America and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence." Dude, there were dancing trees. It was very creative. He says, "Nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching throughout the USA." All right, so let me get this straight. Trump's problem is that Bad Bunny apparently doesn't speak sufficient enough English. That sounds like Donald Trump. He barely speaks English himself. That he is disrespectful to the standards of the United States. That literally sounds like Trump himself, just very disrespectful to the office of the presidency. And the last one is that young children watching may get the wrong idea. Dude, if you want to talk about Donald Trump's relationship with young children, we can make a whole other video about that. But to return to this tweet, Trump is just projecting here. He's mad that somebody doesn't speak enough English. You barely speak English, bro. He says, "This show is just a slap in the face to our country, which is setting new standards and records every day, including the best stock market and 401ks in history. The stock market is always hitting all-time highs. It's not impressive that the stock market is hitting all-time highs. What's impressive is that you were able to crash the stock market like 4 times, therefore slowing down its growth." He says, "There is nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show, and watch, it will get great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue what's going on." I mean, a genuine question to the people watching. I'm sure many of the people watching this video were also watching the Super Bowl. What did you think about the halftime show? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm sure we have a bunch of people in the audience that don't speak Spanish, but were watching the Super Bowl and still ended up enjoying it. But give me your honest thoughts. If you didn't enjoy it, just let me know. Trump, if I had to guess, he was writing this before the halftime show even happened. Trump wanted to post a rage-filled, hateful post to tear down the message that was being promoted by Bad Bunny and the people around him, which is the only thing more powerful than hate is love. And Trump eventually reverse engineered whatever the outrage of the day would be. If this is the Republican Party's idea of maintaining cultural relevance of any sort, then they are going to utterly fail. They are rapidly losing cultural relevance, so much so that they decided to compete with a purely American halftime show by throwing Kid Rock on a stage in like rags so he could just dance around. If this is their plan to maintain any sort of cultural relevance, it is going to fail, and the Republican Party deserves the cultural relevance loss and power loss that is coming to them over the next year. We will make sure that happens on the Adam Mockler channel. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.